What's up, everybody? It's Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another episode. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Dustin on the show as always. What's up, Dustin?
What's up? Thanks for having me as always, bro.
Yeah, good to have you on. And we had to get an episode out today just because of the craziness that happened last night and the last couple days with the Miami Dolphins and Tua. Um, the outcome of last night's game is like the second story today. I mean, what are your initial thoughts? Like, let's first, get some things out of the way. He was concussed, right? After the hit against the Bills game. He was concussed on Sunday, right?
Well, absolutely, he had to have been because when you look at what many others are saying, that you don't move like that after a back injury. He stumbled and leaned forward and all that, so he had to have been concussed.
And I'm gonna play the video of that on here, so you guys can see it exactly like what happens, how he lands, and then the announcer's reaction. The commentators, they don't say anything. They talk about head injury right away. Like, and anyone watching, that's your initial thought. That's the back of his head hits the ground. He gets up, kind of shakes his head, and then he tries to walk and stumbles and has to be helped off the field. That's a concussion. Like, how is that anything else? And my
Yeah,
question is, Dustin, the Dolphins, what are the Dolphins doing here? Are they blatantly lying, saying it's a back injury?
I don't have the answer for that, but I believe that they just wanted Tua out there
In
and they needed
in your
Tua out
gut,
there.
in your gut, in your mind, what do you think happened? Why? How are they getting away? We both agree that we think it was a concussion. How are they getting away with saying it's a back injury?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was. There's got to be something thrown under the table that nobody knows, and they're keeping something quiet.
It's so weird, right? Like, we've seen like some, little things in the injury report where they're not completely honest. This to me just seems like a blatant lie. I mean, and I think it's done out of they're trying to protect their own ass because they know that Tua shouldn't have come back in that game on Sunday, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, in the name of trying to beat the Bills, in the name of trying to beat Josh Allen, I believe that the Dolphins broke protocol and lied blatantly to get Tua on the field. And it worked for a game, right? They get the win. Tua looked great in the second half, and everything's fine, right? And then you double down. The Dolphins easily could have been like, look, we forced the issue in order to get a win on Sunday. We're 3-0. Now they could even use the back injury as an excuse to hold Tua out of Thursday night. Don't you think that would have been the smart move?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy how I don't even know how like the NFL didn't even get involved and do their regular protocol.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions here. Um, But let's go with this, Dustin. If he was concussed, like me and you both believe he was on Sunday, let's ignore it. First of all, he shouldn't have returned to the game. But let's ignore that for a second. Would you have played him on a Thursday night, 4 days later after a concussion?
Absolutely not. Just because of how dangerous head trauma is nowadays, and concussions are nothing to play with. It's one of the worst injuries in football. I mean, you you can have two and be done forever.
Yeah, and just the conversation. Mike McDaniel said post game on Sunday, "We're lucky it was just a concussion." Does he understand concussion protocol in this league? Does he understand that Tua's young, and if Tua takes a few concussions in a row, that could really shorten his career?
Yeah, I don't think he understands it. I mean, last night after the game, I watched the press conference, and he said that he would never put his quarterback or any player in a situation where it would harm them or have them have any head trauma or physical, that
Yeah,
kind of.
and I agree. Yeah, and what I've noticed, it feels like the Dolphins coaching staff, Mike McDaniel, are trying to put this issue off on the independent doctor, right? They're trying to say, well, the independent doctor cleared him, so then my hands are clean of this entire situation. And I disagree. I think everyone with eyes saw the hit on Sunday, know that was a concussion. Out of precaution, Tua should not have returned to that game. And we can talk about if you sit Tua for the second half against Buffalo, we can have an honest conversation about whether Tua is going to play Thursday night or not. Like I don't have an issue then, not nearly as much because you at least took the precaution on Sunday. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree with you.
But then and then so they're playing him on Thursday night to make it seem like Sunday wasn't a concussion. So it's just a back issue. He's able to play through the back issue. All right. So he comes out there on Thursday night, last night, and me and you saw it. We were watching this game together. He gets sacked, he gets whipped down, hits the exact same spot, the back of the head on the field, and I knew it immediately. You could see the way he was getting ripped down. You see the back of his head hit, and before anything, I was like, that's a second concussion right there because he hits the exact same spot of the head. It's 4 days later. That's two concussions. Did you think the same thing?
Yeah, and I mean the way his fingers curled when he was on the ground, that
Bro,
is that
yeah.
was not a good scene, and it was kind of bad to watch on TV, in my opinion.
It's graphic, and we're gonna put that video on here too, so you know exactly what happened. I'll put a little graphic thing on there to say, but you need to see what happens. You see his fingers twist, and it looks you don't do that naturally. That's non-voluntary arm and finger movement and hand movement due to a major brain injury.
The NFL official, medical official, the top medical people came on TV last night and said that kind of movement happens when you have severe head trauma.
Yeah. So, I mean, what the hell, bro? Like, so I could have told you this was going to happen. You're going to play Tua 4 days after a concussion. And then Mike McDaniel has the balls to go on post game press conference and say, nothing from his injury on Sunday would have led me to believe that he's going to get thrown down in the exact same way on Thursday and have an injury. And it's like, bro, that has nothing to do with it. It's purely risk factor going out there playing football on a fresh head injury. If you get hit at all in the head in a similar fashion, you're much more likely to get a second concussion, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the inexperience for Mike McDaniel or just him not knowing what he's doing or knows the health and safety protocols of the NFL,
Uh,
but it's not a good look.
my gut feeling is simply this. I feel like the Dolphins tried to get away with something, got caught in the act, doubled down because they had to double down on their lie, and it blew up in their face. And they are lucky as hell, bro. They are lucky as hell that the signs are good so far from Tua. And last I heard, he had a headache today. And so they're going to keep monitoring the symptoms, MRIs, and all that. But, bro, this could be, you think about the possibilities. I mean, this is one of those injuries that could be career ending, career altering at least. You got two big concussions early into his career. There's a lot of factors at play here.
Yeah. Um, I think so. I mean, what do you think is the next step? Is the NFL going to step in, or is a private organization outside of the NFL going to step in? Because, in my opinion, I feel like the NFL should have stepped in the very first one.
Exactly. And the NFL will definitely investigate. The NFLPA is definitely investigating. Um, I think Dolphin staff is going to get fired over this. I really do. I think multiple members of the Dolphin staff will get fired. I think Mike McDaniel needs to be looked at for some of the comments he said in this process. And let's not forget, Dustin, you know this. I don't know if all NFL fans know this. the Dolphins have been in a lot of heat recently. Um, they fired Brian Flores, and that got a lot of scrutiny for after back-to-back winning seasons, and he's a damn good coach. They fire him, and there was, investigations into whether he was incentivizing the Dolphins to lose. You know, remember that story?
Yep.
Then they get busted for tampering with the Tom Brady and Sean Payton things. And so, as a result of that, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is actually suspended right now and isn't allowed to come back until mid October. So, this is like strike three, maybe strike four for the Dolphins organization recently. I mean, what do you think? Like, I'm starting to think maybe the Ross family should be asked to sell the team, or maybe not asked, maybe forced. I mean, this is major. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not a good look at all.
No. And then, are you concerned? What are your thoughts about Tua? I mean, the organization handled this poorly. So, should people in Tua's camp be concerned about the way the Dolphins team handled this?
I think you would have to be. Uh,
Yeah.
you
This
risk it.
could end in you losing your franchise quarterback because because him and his camp feels like you negatively affected his career and made poor decision making that resulted in a major concussion. And then this last part is the weirdest part. Did you see how they were still finishing that game last night and the report came out that Tua had already been released from the hospital?
Oh no, I did not see that.
Yeah, and then he flew on the plane back to Miami last night. I thought you weren't supposed to fly on a plane after a concussion.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And he was watching TV, watching a movie and stuff. That's what Mike McDaniel said. So, I'm just saying, after seeing Tua take a second concussion in 4 days, seeing the involuntary finger and hand movement, man, I would have had Tua spend the night in the hospital overnight for evaluations just to make sure. I would have taken every precaution, and he certainly wouldn't have flown back home last night. Like, I just don't know what's going on here. Do you?
No, man. I don't know. Maybe it's a dirty organization.
I don't know, but a lot of issues, and I just hope two is all right, man. I hope there's no lingering side effects, and I don't think that I would play Tua next week. I would give him maybe a week or two to like monitor him, see how he does before I send him out on the field, because so what they say is in high school, one concussion undiagnosed leading to a second hit to the head, two concussions in a row is often what leads to some of these kids in high school dying. And man, we have to be careful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's pretty bad.
What do you think? What kind of changes do you think need to be done to because I don't think as a world we fully understand brain injuries yet. And so do you think the NFL needs to in place some like better rules to monitor these head injuries?
Well, I mean, aren't there rules already pretty supposed to meant to be safe?
They're supposed to be, but obviously I think you would agree the ball was dropped in a major way this time.
Yeah, yep. I do agree on that.
I mean, I can remember back in the day, Jay Cutler getting a concussion for the Bears, missing the second half of that game and missing the next game, and that one wasn't nearly as bad as this one looked. So I don't know, but I just think as a league and as a world, we need to, get better at understanding these brain injuries because they're a big deal. And whether the Dolphins were told he was cleared or not, the Dolphins as an organization and the rest of the NFL organizations need to look at this as an example and be like, we need to be a little more thorough in making sure that our players are being protected, not only, from themselves, because I'm sure Tua wanted to go back into that game on Sunday. I'm sure Tua felt like he was good to go last night. what these organizations need to do a much better job of protecting players from themselves, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you look in to see if it was a misdiagnosis by the doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
it can't always be head coach.
Yeah, and maybe he needs to go through multiple doctors checking on him, you know? And I don't know. I don't know if I agree that I thought the rules in place to protect these players was already really good and that we wouldn't have anything like that. But in back-to-back games, we've seen otherwise. So I hope we get better at this, and I hope that Tua's all right, man, because that was scary. I don't usually overreact like that to a injury or a hit on the field. Last night, I was legit worried for Tua. How about you?
Yeah, I was too, man. It didn't look. What scared me the most was the way his fingers curled like that.
Yeah, and we've actually seen that before. I believe Case Keenum had that, and Joe Flacco had a hit like that before, where involuntary hand movement, and we just have to be so careful with that. I mean, it's a really graphic and ugly look on video, and then I hope Tua's all right, and I hope we do the necessary steps to make sure that he doesn't get another concussion here soon. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, is beating the Bills in week 3, is beating the Bengals in week 4 worth potentially risking Tua's long-term health for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not worth it because you're gonna need him, especially if you're trying to make a run.
Yeah. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. It's crazy, and we need to be careful. Last night was one of those wake you up moments. Like, holy shit, we need to do better. And I think the NFL will. I think the NFL is gonna look at this and learn from it, and we're gonna get even more precautions in there. Make sure this doesn't happen again. I hope so.
Yeah, I agree. They very well should, and they need to look in. They need to. The head coaches need to be trained, and the owners and all that.
Yeah, multiple people, multiple steps to make sure this doesn't happen again. So, well, hoping for the best for Tua. And hopefully we don't see any more stuff like this the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, let's hope, man, because that was pretty scary. I don't know if I could see another side like that. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I know John Harbaugh was like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. So, and he's got a guy like Lamar Jackson over there. All these head coaches have star quarterbacks they're responsible for protecting. And if you see a guy, I mean, we all saw it on Sunday. If you see a guy take a hit to the head, get up, be wobbly like that, let's not try to explain it away with a back injury. Let's take all the precautionary steps, let's treat it like it is a concussion until proven otherwise. And I know that supposedly that was taken, but whatever steps were taken, we need to step those up and do a little bit better of a job. So,
I agree.
but all right, well, we'll end this here. I mean, good win for the Bengals. Dolphins' first loss, but Teddy Bridgewater is a capable backup too. That's why I don't see the need to force Tua out there, risk his health long term when you got a solid, capable backup. I mean, Bridgewater kept the team in the game last night.
Yep, for sure.
So, all right, guys, appreciate the support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We'll get this episode out. Have a great week, guys. Good shit as always, Dustin.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
Yep. And peace out.